Welcome to Ghost Carrier, our 15-part alternative history audio series about a world where America lost the Pacific War. This is the tale of a doomed aircraft carrier and its crew, stranded in the vast Pacific by a supernatural twist of fate. This story has been adapted from my book, Ghost Carrier. You can purchase the full version in paperback, Kindle, or audiobook from the links in this episode's description. I'm Robert Child, and Episode 8 will begin in a moment. Summer is a great time for catching up on military history, and my book about the 7 Black Medal of Honor recipients of World War II, Immortal Valor, has just been released in paperback. Immortal Valor chronicles these timeless heroes' life journeys through all the pain and struggle until their ultimate triumphs. I hope you pick up the new paperback version, hardcover or audiobook, available in stores and online.
Ghost Carrier, They Died to Fight Another Day. Written by Robert Child. Narrated by Kirk Winkler. Joe sat in the mess hall staring down at mashed potatoes and Salisbury steak growing cold on his plate. He wasn't hungry, and neither were many of the guys who were at the meeting with the Admiral. Joe looked over at Charlie and then at Al. Both seemed to be lost in thought. The food in front of them had gone cold. Joe sensed a shift. The ship had taken on a new atmosphere. You didn't hear much laughter. Guys huddled in groups off by themselves. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but he certainly felt it. A divided crew. That natural shipboard camaraderie was completely gone, replaced by don't trust anybody wariness. "Mind some company?" Joe looked up and saw Theo. "Sure." Theo settled in across from Joe with a heaping tray. "You feel it too, huh?" "Yeah," Joe responded. "Little icy in here." "Sure enough, but don't you never mind about all that." Joe looked at Theo quizzically. "Them guys, we got 'em outnumbered. You can feel them running scared." Joe looked over at a few of them. They did look a little scared, or at least nervous. He suddenly realized that he and the other guys who went down with the ship had now formed a strong bond, virtually shutting out everyone else on the ship. "Heck of a lot more of us went down with this ship than survived," Theo continued. "Maybe, Theo, they think that we're banding together against them or something, and they don't know why." "Maybe," Theo said absently as he shoveled a heaping fork of gravy-smothered mashed potatoes into his mouth. "I can't believe it, Theo. A suicide mission?" "Yeah, hell. I was just getting used to being alive," the big man said with a chuckle. Joe relaxed into a smile, even though it was a sad one, and then changed the subject. "A lot of guys are alive today because of what you did at Pearl." "Nah, I just did what I had to do." "How many Jap planes you shoot down? 2, 3? "They tell me 4. "Geez, I can't even imagine what it was like. Must have been hell being attacked by all those Jap planes like that." Theo's thoughts drifted back 2 Decembers earlier to an overcast Sunday morning at Pearl Harbor Naval Base in Hawaii. "Nobody knew what was happening, like it weren't even real. I was out on the West Virginia. When I went to my battle station, it weren't there no more, so I run around seeing what I could do. Lieutenant White grabbed me and told me to load up the 50 cals on the back of the tower. You couldn't hear nothing but all the plane noise. Them Jap planes was buzzing so fast everywhere, zooming around like bees. Soon as I loaded the second gun, I just started firing it fast as I could." "You ever shoot one of those guns before?" "Nope, but I learned real quick. Used to hunt squirrels back with my .22 in Waco. Just kept my finger on the trigger till I was out of ammo. You couldn't help but hit something." "Well, that was some damn fine shooting. Damn good." "Yes, sir." Joe paused, looking for the right words. "Theo, we have to fight back, like at Pearl. We gotta do something. Hell, we were winning this goddamn war back in that other world." "Not much we can do. We're stuck here." What if we took over the ship? The admiral would be with us. This is the flagship. The other ships would have to follow us." "Where'd we go?" "I'm not saying we'd go hide someplace. I'm saying we turn this damn carrier battle group around and go attack the Japs on the west coast. We'll never make it to Japan, and I don't see the sense anyway. I don't understand it. We got a score to settle with them for sinking our ship." "Well, you got that right."
"Look, the admiral doesn't like the orders either. We're being sacrificed, pure and simple, and I don't know why."
Theo nodded in agreement.
"If I'm going to die again, I'm going to do it my way. I want to go out swinging and take as many Japs as I can down with me. We got to find a way to turn this task force around."
Maria's library reading room. Katie had taken her position on the sofa, and Frank settled in the chair by the window. He didn't know why, but he was more nervous for this session than the first. Strange, he thought, as he handed Maria his Hamilton watch. "Maria, I'm still confused on some things. Can I ask you a couple questions before we start?"
"Certainly."
"Okay, I was thinking about my father stuck in 1943 in another reality. Wouldn't he have aged and lived out his life already in that world?"
"Logically, a person would think so, because of our notion of linear time. But really, Frank, that isn't the case at all. Time is not linear. It's perceptual. Past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Wherever you are, the time is always now."
Frank shook his head, not following.
"Just consider the concept of time, Frank. If you're in New York and it's 12 noon and you call a friend in London, their time is 5 hours ahead of ours. It's 5 p.m. there. In essence, you're calling from their past. They've already experienced 12 noon that day. You hang up with them and decide to call a friend in L.A. You're calling from their future because of the time difference coast to coast. They haven't experienced 12 noon yet."
Frank nodded, beginning to get what she was saying.
"And your life is the same way, Frank. Your future is out in front of you, and it's unfolding right now. Imagine this. Imagine you're on a hill overlooking a long train going by on tracks below. This train represents your entire lifespan. Each train car is a year in your life."
"Okay."
"All the train cars exist now. You can see them all moving forward from your vantage point on the hill. Things are happening in each train car or year simultaneously. So each train car or year, like 1943, exists and is always happening because every moment is always happening now."
Frank tried to process all this. "I think I see what you mean. Everything is now, and the future is—"
"The front of the train. Your future self is living in your probable future this very instant."
"Whoa, that's something."
"Yes. Look, have you ever had the experience of déjà vu?"
Frank nodded. Yeah, I have."
Déjà vu is you coming up to speed with your future self who has already lived the experience. That's why when you experience déjà vu, things look familiar and actions feel like you've done them before. Deep within, you retain memories of both your past and your future."
Frank grabbed what was left of the hair on his head and tugged.
I know, it's mind-blowing, but that is how this universe really works. That's why a psychic or a medium like myself can peer into your future. It's happening now. Of course, it's only your probable future. Things are never set in stone, but that probable future is unfolding at this very second, based on the choices you're making in this now moment."
Frank was nodding. It was a completely different way for him to comprehend time and the universe.
"Let's get back to your dad. I've asked my guides for help, so give me a moment while I bring them in."
Maria closed her eyes and began to take deep, regular breaths, in and out, in and out. D-Ben, we are pleased you could join us here in this time-space reality. We are trying to reach Frank's father, Joe, trapped in a parallel dimension. Frank looked over at Katie. Yes, but it has been done, correct? Maria pressed her invisible spirit guide. Maria turned toward Frank, her eyes remaining closed. D-Ben is saying that what we are seeking to accomplish has rarely been attempted. Her attention was drawn inward again. Yes. Oh, yes. Go on. Frank turned to Katie again. She simply shrugged and looked back to Maria. All right, I will convey this. Frank turned back to Maria, and this time she opened her eyes. Frank, your father has continued in the war, but events are quite different in the reality he's experiencing. America is losing the war. What? Frank blurted out. It's true, his current dimension is on a very different track. How is that possible? Everything and anything is possible when you have a different past and future. Maria's attention was drawn inward again. A moment, please. Oh dear, she said as she continued to listen to her invisible spirit guides. But what about non-existence? Maria opened her eyes slowly and looked at Frank, choosing her words carefully. D-Ben was conveying to me that your father is in grave danger. On the reality track he's in, Japan eventually wins the war. The United States has been weakened by fighting a war on two fronts. In your father's current reality track, if circumstances don't change, there is a high probability he will not survive the war. Frank gasped and struggled to hold back tears. But, Frank, there is another thing. Another thing? How could there be another thing? Frank asked, still processing the pain. Because of the psychic rip or portal that your father and his crew traveled through into the other dimension, they retain a strong soul connection to our reality. That's why your father retains his memories. You could think of this connection as a cord or a lifeline. A part of his soul is there, and a part of it is here. Okay, Frank said, needing further explanation. In his current reality, I'm being told your father never married. Frank, if he dies in that dimension, it will not only wipe out his future there, but also the parallel Joe here, who gave birth to you. I'm not following. Frank, the version of you that you know is alive in this dimension because of Joe. If we are unable to reunite you both, or if he dies in that reality, the part of his soul remaining here will cease to exist. It will mean that the father that you had never existed in this reality. Frank shook his head. I don't follow. I'm sorry, I know it is complicated. It will mean the person you are, the person you know as yourself, as Frank Rusk, will never have been born. There will be a new soul version of Frank Rusk, and you will have no conscious connection to the old Frank. Every memory of your current life, everything you have lived, will not have happened. Your family, as you know it now, will not have existed.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ghost Carrier, our 15-part alternative history series. Join us next time for another installment. This story has been adapted from my book, Ghost Carrier. You can purchase the full version in paperback, Kindle, or audiobook from the links in this episode's description. And if you like what you hear, leave a review or a rating, or just click the follow button. I'm Robert Child, and this has been Ghost Carrier, only on Point of the Spear.
Music licensed from audioblocks.com. Point of the Spear is produced by RSC Media Group.